Let me tell you something I have noticed after more than 30 years of sitting across from patients in my office. People come to me carrying bags full of supplements, bottles clinking together like coins in a pocket, and they tell me they are doing everything right for their legs, for their circulation, for their joints. They show me labels with words they cannot pronounce, ingredients they saw advertised online or heard about from a friend whose cousin felt better after taking them. And I look at these good people, these earnest people who genuinely want to age well, and I see the same pattern repeating itself year after year. They are spending money, sometimes a lot of money, on things their bodies do not actually need, while ignoring the simple things that would make a real difference. I am not here to tell you that every supplement is useless. That would not be honest, and honesty is what you deserve after decades of living and learning. But what I am here to tell you is that most of what people take for their legs after 60 is either redundant, poorly absorbed, or solving a problem they do not actually have. The real issue, the one I see in examination rooms day after day, is not a deficiency of some exotic compound. It is something far more fundamental, something we have known about for generations, but somehow keep forgetting in our search for quick fixes and easy answers. I want you to think about this for a moment. When you were younger, you probably never thought much about your legs. They just worked. They carried you where you needed to go, upstairs and down hallways, through long days and late nights. But now, maybe you notice the stiffness in the morning, the way it takes a few steps before things start moving smoothly. Maybe you see the swelling around your ankles by evening, or you feel that deep ache after standing for a while. These are not imaginary problems. They are real and they matter because your legs are what keep you independent, what allow you to live the life you want to live. But here is what I have learned from watching thousands of patients age. The solution is almost never found in a bottle. It is found in movement, in circulation, in the daily choices that either support your body or slowly work against it. And yet we keep reaching for supplements because they feel like action, like we are doing something concrete and measurable. We want to believe that swallowing a pill can replace the harder work of actually changing our habits. After many years as a doctor, I began to notice a pattern in the patients who aged well, whose legs stayed strong and reliable into their 70s and 80s. They were not the ones with the most supplements. They were the ones who moved consistently, who understood that circulation is not something you can buy. It is something you create through daily habit. They were the ones who paid attention to inflammation, not with exotic berries from distant mountains, but by eating real food and avoiding the things that made their bodies react. They were the ones who took their muscle mass seriously, not as a vanity project, but as a survival strategy, because muscle is what protects your joints, what keeps your balance steady, what prevents the falls that can change everything in an instant. These patients taught me more than any medical journal ever could. They showed me that the body responds to consistency, to simplicity, to respect for its actual needs, rather than our wishful thinking about shortcuts. Now let me be clear about something important. I am not against supplements in principle. There are times when they make perfect sense, when the evidence is solid and the need is real. If you have a documented vitamin D deficiency, and many people over 60 do, then yes, you should take vitamin D. If your doctor has tested your B12 levels and found them low, which happens more often as we age because our ability to absorb it decreases, then B12 supplementation is reasonable and helpful. If you have been diagnosed with osteoporosis and your physician recommends calcium along with other treatments, that is a different conversation entirely. But what I am talking about is the pile of supplements marketed specifically for leg health, for circulation, for joint support that people buy without any real understanding of whether they need them or whether they even work. I am talking about the glucosamine and chondroitin that studies keep showing has minimal effect for most people. I am talking about the circulation blends with ingredients that sound impressive but have never been proven to do what the label suggests. I am talking about the herbal combinations that promise to reduce swelling or improve vein health without any real clinical backing. These are the things that drain your wallet while giving you a false sense of security, making you think you are addressing the problem when you are really just postponing the actual work that needs to be done. What you should try instead is not a supplement at all. It is movement, but not the kind of movement you might think. I am not asking you to run marathons or spend hours in a gym. I am asking you to understand that your legs need circulation, and circulation comes from muscle contraction. Every time your calf muscles squeeze and release, they push blood back up toward your heart, fighting against gravity, keeping the fluid from pooling in your ankles and feet. This is not a theory. This is basic physiology, the kind of thing we teach in the first weeks of medical school. And yet somehow it gets lost in the noise of supplement advertising and online health gurus promising miracle cures. When you walk, really walk with intention and regularity, you are creating a pump action in your legs that no pill can replicate. When you move through a full range of motion, bending and straightening your knees, rotating your ankles, you are lubricating your joints with the fluid they need to stay healthy. Your body already has the mechanisms to take care of your legs. It just needs you to use them. Think about what happens when you sit for hours at a time. The blood pools. The muscles stay contracted in the same position, getting shorter and tighter. The joints stiffen because they are not moving through their range. The lymphatic system, which depends entirely on movement to function, slows down and fluid accumulates in your lower legs. This is why your ankles swell. This is why you feel stiff when you finally stand up. And no supplement is going to fix that, because the problem is not a nutritional deficiency. It is a movement deficiency. I have seen patients spend hundreds of dollars a month on circulation supplements while sitting in a recliner for 10 hours a day, and then they wonder why their legs still hurt, why the swelling still comes back every evening. The disconnect is painful to watch because the solution is right there in front of them, free and available, but it requires effort and consistency rather than money and hope. What I recommend, what I have seen work time and time again in real human bodies, is this. Walk every single day, not a casual stroll where your heart rate barely changes, but a real walk where you feel your muscles working, where your breath deepens slightly, where your calves are actively contracting with each step. 30 minutes is good, 45 is better. It does not have to be fast, but it does have to be consistent. If you can only manage 15 minutes at first, start there and build up gradually over weeks. The key is regularity, because your circulation does not care about your intentions or your occasional efforts. It responds to what you do day after day after day. If walking outside is difficult because of weather or safety concerns, walk inside. Walk laps around your house. March in place during commercial breaks. Get a treadmill if you can afford one, but honestly, you do not need equipment. You need commitment. Along with walking, I want you to think about strength. Muscle mass declines naturally as we age, starting in our 30s and accelerating after 60. This is not optional. This is not something that happens to other people. It is happening to you right now, whether you feel it or not, and it matters enormously for your legs. Muscle is what stabilizes your knees, what protects your hips, what keeps you from falling when you step on an uneven surface. Muscle is also metabolically active tissue that helps control inflammation and blood sugar, two things that directly affect how well your legs feel and function. You do not need to become a bodybuilder. You do not need heavy weights or complicated routines. You need to challenge your muscles enough that they have a reason to stay strong. Body weight exercises work beautifully for this. Sit to stand repetitions from a chair where you use your leg muscles to lower yourself slowly and then push back up without using your hands. Calf raises while holding on to a counter for balance. Simple lunges if your knees allow it. These movements, done 2 or 3 times a week, will do more for your leg health than any supplement you can buy. Now let me address inflammation, because this is where supplement marketing really takes advantage of people. You see products promising to reduce inflammation with turmeric or boswellia or omega fatty acids, and some of these have modest anti-inflammatory effects in studies, but the effect size is small, and the real question is whether you are addressing the source of the inflammation or just trying to suppress the symptoms. Most of the inflammation in your legs, the kind that causes pain and swelling and stiffness, comes from what you eat, how much you move, and how much extra weight you are carrying. If you are eating processed foods full of refined sugars and industrial oils, if you are sitting most of the day, if you are carrying 30 or 40 extra pounds around your middle, then taking a turmeric supplement is like trying to bail out a sinking boat with a teaspoon while ignoring the hole in the hull. It might make you feel like you are doing something, but it is not addressing the actual problem. The real anti-inflammatory intervention is changing what you put on your plate. I am not going to give you a complicated diet plan with rules about macros and meal timing. I am going to tell you what I have seen work in the real world with real people. Eat more vegetables, especially the colorful ones and the leafy green ones. Eat real protein from sources you recognize, whether that is fish or chicken or beans or eggs. Eat some fruit, but do not overdo it, because fruit is still sugar even though it comes in a natural package. Reduce and ideally eliminate the foods that come in boxes and bags with ingredient lists you cannot understand. Cut back dramatically on sugar, not because sugar is evil, but because excess sugar drives inflammation throughout your body, and your legs feel that inflammation as pain and stiffness. Drink water instead of soda and juice. These are not exciting recommendations. They are not new, but they work consistently and predictably in ways that supplement stacks simply do not. I also want you to pay attention to your weight, and I know this is a sensitive topic, but I have to be honest with you because your legs depend on it. Every extra pound you carry is extra force on your knees and hips with every step you take. The math is simple and unforgiving. If you are 20 pounds overweight, that is 20 pounds of pressure with each footfall, thousands of times a day, slowly wearing down the cartilage in your joints. If you are 50 pounds over a healthy weight, the cumulative damage over months and years is substantial. I have had patients tell me their knees hurt and they want a supplement for joint health, and I look at their weight and I see the real issue right there. Losing weight is hard. I understand that it gets harder as we age, but it is also one of the most powerful things you can do for your legs, more powerful than any supplement ever invented. Even losing 10 or 15 pounds makes a measurable difference in pain levels and mobility. It is not about appearance. It is about mechanics, about reducing the load on structures that are already dealing with decades of use. Sleep matters more than most people realize when it comes to leg health. When you sleep, your body repairs tissues, manages inflammation, and consolidates the benefits of the movement you did during the day. If you are only sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night, if your sleep is interrupted and restless, your legs do not get the recovery time they need. I see this all the time in patients who complain of leg pain and fatigue. We talk about their habits, and it turns out they are staying up late watching television or scrolling on their phones, then getting up early and pushing through the day on coffee and willpower. Your body cannot maintain healthy tissues under those conditions. It needs rest, real rest, 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep most nights. This is not negotiable if you want your legs to feel good and function well into your later years. And no, there is no supplement that replaces sleep. Some supplements claim to improve sleep, and a few might help marginally, but they are not a substitute for the discipline of actually going to bed at a reasonable hour and creating conditions that allow for deep rest. Hydration is another factor that people overlook. Your joints need fluid to stay lubricated. Your blood needs adequate hydration to flow properly and not become sluggish. Your muscles need water to contract efficiently and recover from exercise. When you are even mildly dehydrated, which many older adults are without realizing it because thirst signals become less reliable with age, everything in your legs works a little bit worse. The stiffness is worse, the swelling is worse, the recovery from activity is slower, and yet I have patients who drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning and maybe a glass of water at dinner and wonder why they feel terrible. Drink water throughout the day. Keep a bottle with you. Sip it regularly. Aim for enough that your urine is pale yellow, not dark and concentrated. This simple habit will do more for your circulation and joint health than most of the expensive supplements people take. I also need to mention compression, because this is something that actually works for leg swelling, and it costs far less than most supplement regimens. Compression socks or stockings, the kind that are graduated with more pressure at the ankle and less at the top, help push fluid back up out of your lower legs. They are not glamorous. They are not easy to put on if you have limited flexibility or hand strength, but they work mechanically and predictably by supporting your veins and reducing the pooling that causes swelling and discomfort. If you have significant leg swelling, especially by the end of the day, talk to your doctor about compression garments before you spend money on circulation supplements. The evidence for compression is solid. The evidence for most circulation supplements is weak or absent. Let me tell you what I see happening in the patients who do well with their leg health as they age. They are not the ones with elaborate supplement routines. They are the ones who walk their dog every morning without fail. They are the ones who take the stairs when they have a choice. They are the ones who do a few simple exercises while watching the evening news. They are the ones who eat meals made from real ingredients and drink water instead of sweet beverages. They are the ones who go to bed at a reasonable hour and wake up rested. They are the ones who maintain a healthy weight or work steadily toward it, even when progress is slow. These are the fundamentals, the unsexy basics that actually determine how your body ages. And I know these things are harder than swallowing a pill. I know they require discipline and consistency and sometimes discomfort. But they work. They work in ways that are measurable and meaningful and lasting. Most people only realize this when it is already too late, when they have spent years and thousands of dollars on supplements that did not help, when their legs have gotten worse despite all the pills and powders, when they finally understand that there is no shortcut around the basic requirements of a human body. I do not want that to be you. I want you to understand now, while you still have time to make changes that matter, that your legs will take care of you if you take care of them. Not with supplements, except for the specific few that your doctor recommends based on actual testing and evidence, but with movement and strength and good food and adequate rest and all the other boring, unglamorous things that add up to a body that works well into old age. Your legs are an investment, and like any investment, they respond to consistent attention and wise choices. Every walk you take is a deposit. Every meal of real food is a deposit. Every night of good sleep is a deposit. And over time, those deposits compound into a body that moves well, that feels good, that allows you to live independently and do the things you care about. The supplements, most of them anyway, are a distraction from this fundamental truth. They promise easy answers to hard questions, quick fixes to problems that developed over decades. And I understand the appeal. I understand why people reach for them. But after 30 years of watching what actually works in real human bodies, I can tell you with certainty that the answer is not in a bottle. The answer is in your daily choices, in your willingness to do the simple things consistently, even when they are not exciting or new or trendy. I have seen people transform their leg health in their 60s and 70s by doing exactly what I am describing. I have seen patients who could barely walk a block become people who hike with their grandchildren. I have seen swelling disappear, pain diminish, strength return, not because of supplements, but because they finally committed to the basics and stuck with them long enough to see results. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes faith that your body will respond if you give it what it actually needs. But it works, and it keeps working year after year, while supplements come and go with changing trends and marketing campaigns. So let me be very direct with you. If you are taking a handful of leg supplements right now, I want you to ask yourself honestly whether they are making a real difference. Not whether you hope they are helping, not whether the marketing promised they would help, but whether you can actually measure an improvement in how your legs feel and function. If the answer is no, or if you are not sure, then you have your answer. Stop spending that money. Stop cluttering your medicine cabinet with bottles of things you do not need. Take that energy and that commitment and redirect it toward the things that actually matter. Start walking, start moving, start eating better, start sleeping more, start drinking water. These are the interventions that work, the ones backed by decades of clinical observation and solid science, the ones that cost little or nothing but require something more valuable than money. They require your commitment. And if you are thinking this sounds too simple, too basic, too boring to actually work, I understand that reaction. We live in a world that tells us health should be complicated, that we need experts and products and special formulations to take care of our bodies. But the truth I have learned from thousands of patients over decades of practice is that the body is remarkably simple in its needs and remarkably responsive when those needs are met. Your legs want to move. They were designed to move. When you let them do what they were built to do, when you support them with good fuel and adequate rest, they will serve you well for a very long time. When you try to replace that movement with supplements, when you try to shortcut the basic requirements, they will slowly decline no matter how much money you spend on pills. I care about your quality of life. I care about your independence. I care about your ability to do the things that matter to you, to see the places you want to see, to spend time with the people you love without pain, limiting you, or mobility holding you back. That is why I'm being so direct, so insistent about this, because I have seen both paths. I have seen what happens when people chase supplements and ignore fundamentals. And I have seen what happens when people do the opposite. The difference is dramatic, measurable, and consistent, and you get to choose which path you take. Not your neighbor, not the advertisements you see online, not the friend who swears by some product they discovered. You, based on what actually works, what the evidence supports, what your body truly needs. Your legs have carried you through decades of life. They deserve better than being treated like a problem to be solved with the latest supplement trend. They deserve the respect of real care, consistent effort, and wise choices. They deserve movement and strength and proper fuel. They deserve your attention and your discipline, and in return they will give you mobility and independence and the freedom to live the life you want to live. That is the trade, and it is a fair one. But you have to hold up your end. You have to do the work that no supplement can do for you. You have to be honest about what your body needs and brave enough to give it those things even when they are not easy or convenient. That is how you age well. That is how you keep your legs healthy and strong, not with bottles and capsaids and powders, but with the simple daily choices that add up to a life lived well in a body that still works.